Good evening, welcome back to the action as we get down to the last 16 of Pro Series Event 9. Declan Brennan takes on John Rowe. Mark Shepherd with you for this one as Declan breaks off in the first frame. Declan, based purely on rankings, would be coming into this as the favourite, but John Rowe's had a very good weekend so far. Looks to be in good touch. 7-1 win over Shane Thompson earlier on. This is where you really feel like you're getting down to the business end of a tournament to get down to the last 16. It's going to be the penultimate round of the night. Slight change in format this weekend, so we're going to play the semi-finals and final tomorrow night. So whoever gets through this match will have a quarter-final later on, and their work will be done for the day. This is a pretty good position for Declan to get going with. He's got those three yellows at the bottom of the table, purposefully leaving the one top right until last because it affords the best position onto the 8 ball. So he just wants to clear the balls at this bottom end of the table. So it's all about just leaving himself a decent angle on the ball to the bottom left after this one. It's quite a big margin for error, just needs to try to make sure he drifts up towards the middle of the table off this shot. Ideally would have wanted to be a bit lower, I think, to screw up to the middle. May just have to leave a little bit more distance. In fact, it was straight enough that he could screw on and off the side cushion. That makes it even easier. So just the simple stuff to do now. Run this cue ball on and off the cushion. This is exactly how you want to start any match. Good first visit clearance from Declan Brennan. He gets had quite a few Pro Series weekends since then. This one is the 13th Pro Series weekend. Big powerful break as ever from John, but not the outcome he was looking for. Cue ball finding the corner pocket, so immediate chance for Declan. Not quite as straightforward a chance as the last one, but it's not a whole lot further behind. 3 reds nearest the middle pocket. If he can just drop on the middle one of those 3 straight as possible, which he's managed to achieve, then he can run this in, leave the cue ball where the red is, and take the ball above it to the top left-hand corner. And that pretty much opens the pattern up for him. Around to look at the angle for the balls at the bottom of the table. That yellow immediately below the cue ball just provides slight traffic, but shouldn't really be an obstacle because whichever side of it he finishes is going to be on one or the other. Very nicely judged shot. Just wanted to leave a slight angle, just screw over to the left hand side cushion. Wants to come out just below the middle pocket to leave the red pretty much straight. Don't trace too much angle here, may have to come on and off the bottom cushion. Ideally would have just run this in, then the 8 ball would have been there waiting. played it well. Made that look easy. The only slight problem when you're playing a shot like that, you just don't quite pick the angle out right and you leave a more difficult black, but in the end he left himself in prime position. Wow, very well struck break that. Parking the cue ball in the middle of the table. Slightly different style of break from some people who are looking to screw the cue ball back more visibly. He was looking to effectively park the cue ball in the middle, just came back slightly with the amount of spin on it. Ball's flying towards the pockets though, and another pretty open split to get going with. Not really easy to see where the problems would come from. The yellow sandwich between the two reds on the left hand side of the table is the most difficult one to access, but the fact that he's got a couple of balls below it means that he can play for it with a reasonable amount of confidence that it'll be easy to get position after it, or if he doesn't get the perfect angle he can take one of the balls to the bottom left first. He's just about got the angle to drift over. Yeah, not quite, but that's still not a problem. In an absolutely ideal world he's going to clear up the balls on the left hand side of the table first. One over the right centre would be the easiest one to get position onto the black, although the position of the black is fairly straightforward. Able though to go with A1 position, which is to take the ball long to the top left next, then the one to the bottom left. Ball across the bottom cushion into the bottom right corner, and then the one over the middle last. In fact, same difference playing it like this, so going middle then top. Hard right now to pass any judgment on how John Rowe's playing, because all we've seen him do is break once. The only thing he's got to be mindful of here is not leaving this last yellow along the bottom cushion straight. As long as he's got any angle, it's going to be an easy positional shot to get out for the black. That's pretty good. Tables are playing very well. The fact that the bed of the table's been reclothed but the cushions haven't mean that shots like that one is just played. You feel confident you can get hold of the cue ball. It's not skidding too much off the cushions. John Rowe yet to get his hands on any Ultimate Pool silverware, but a former world champion going 11 years back. Title won just up the road from here, the Imperial Hotel in Blackpool. Well, so it's just going from bad to worse for John Rowe. He's had 2 shots so far in the match. One was a break where he went in off, and then the second effort is a fairly well hit break, but it's come up dry, which so far in this match has proved very costly. This is without doubt though the most difficult of the layouts that Declan's faced in
Extension, please.
The 4 frames that have been played. Those earlier ones he was able to just play position without the need for any cannons. This one he has got one yellow
balls
a
in
bit
play.
tied up. It's not the next pot that's the challenge, it's how he gets into the yellow that's sandwiched between the 2 reds on the left hand side. gap appeared there. It appeared from the main camera angle that he couldn't get the yellow between those two reds, but actually enough room to get through. Could make an angle here. Just looking at whether it's better to play it off the ball he's on now, which would be a fairly easy cannon but not really guaranteed outcome, or whether he wants to play position on the ball to the left centre and then play the cannon. So he does go straight into it. Not great, not terrible. He has left a plant here. He's going to have to play the plant reasonably firmly because he needs to get the second yellow out and back into play. Oh, that's a lovely shot. He would have loved to have been on this ball to the top left corner. He's not quite done that, but certainly take that outcome. There's a bit of a risk there that the yellow could have got tied up when it went past those reds, but it's sprung out nicely. Could really have gone either way there. Would have been a case for taking the yellow that's on the break line next had he played a different positional shot, but left himself an angle to the one. Well, in fact, he is going to do that anyway. Another example of how well these cushions are playing, because he wanted to play with a bit of check side there. Didn't want to have the cue ball go too wide and get tangled up with those reds. A very reactive cushion, just takes the side when you play it. Wow, this has been some standard of play. We've seen a lot of good pool played this weekend, but it's hard to remember many matches where one player has been as dominant. First visit clearances. Be very happy if he can have a repeat of either of the first two. Contact with the patch, got so much pace into it. Maintained absolute accuracy as well. Got a very good hit on the front ball. He's kind of got what he deserved. He hit that break so well. He's been rewarded with another excellent layout. All the balls nicely spread out. The reds have kind of gone towards cushions. They've got out the way. The choice really is whether he plays the two balls to the top right hand corner as a plant, or whether he tries to get on one of them. They're probably far enough apart that ideally you wouldn't play them as a plant, but they're not far off being straight. Well, in fact, he's found a good route into it because he can drop the ball into the right centre and then play for a ball to the top left hand corner pocket that he's just queuing over now. This just takes all the risk out of it. Oh, John Lay's going to be wondering what's happened in this match. This is obviously the kind of thing that can happen at top level pool, but absolute textbook start to a match from Declan. And this 8-ball punctuates that perfect start. 13.5 minutes played, a perfect 5 from Declan Brennan. He doesn't find a ball off this break. He's knowing perfectly well that he may not have another shot in this match. What an extraordinary statistic that could be. Oh, surely, I was going to say, surely he hasn't come up dry there. He's hit those really well. So, finally, the streak is broken. John Rowe will have first go at these. He's hit that really well. Look at that cue ball coming back. It's come back in an almost dead straight line. You can't really have them easy enough when you've been frozen in your chair for as long as John has. That's the one mercy, is that it's all happened pretty quickly. 13 minutes sat down. More importantly, from his perspective, 5 frames on the wrong side of the scoreboard. Oh, good lord. That nearly went badly wrong. Missed the red he was going for. Came perilously close to potting the 8 ball. It won't make any difference to the outcome of the frame whether he did pot the black out of sequence, but goodness, wouldn't that be a bad night's work if he'd have ended up 6-0 down based on that shot. Declan under a little bit of time pressure here, already taking his extension. Just needing a little bit of time to consider the options. If the cue ball was nearer the middle of the table, this would be easy, but his starting options just a bit limited. So red's the choice. It's ball at the bottom of the table. The red does pot to the bottom right hand corner pocket. You'd have to get fairly good position on it for it to be an easy shot. May elect just to leave that until last. It may not be possible to do too much better than just potting that and then playing position for the 8 ball. Although, as I say that, he's going to have to reroute because he's misjudged the positional shot at the top of the table. He's looking to get position on the ball top right. That yellow's popped up in the way. A bit awkward now, which is why he's having to bail out of this clearance. Would obviously love to have kept the run going of perfect first visit clearances, but ultimately that's the kind of statistic that those watching the match can concern themselves with. From his perspective, the important thing is getting the frames won. A little bit unlucky to leave that gap behind the red. See from the overhead shot, there's not much room behind the red, but as it happened, he had left the exact gap that John needed. It's not a bad chance, but he's been frozen away from the table for as long as this. A couple of delicate shots here. Tricky yellow is obviously the one between the black and the red at the bottom of the table. Could elect to play a double and cannon it out now. Oh, good shot. Played that really well. Supposed to run the cue ball through with a little bit of side, just get the white out towards the middle of the table. It's not bad. Not going to be able to get A1 position on his final yellow, but at least he's going to have a shot at it. Although this is quite a delicate shot, the position of the 8 ball isn't terrible from where he is. There's obviously going to be a lot of travel with the white because he's cutting this quite thin, but he'll swing this on and off the cushion that he's cueing over. Yeah, judge that well. Quickly down for the 8 ball. Wow. That's a harsh way for the run to end. It was a dry break though anyway. I mean, again, look at the power he gets into this. Cue ball's tracking up the dead centre of the table and then just powered into the corner. Contact with the red. Wasn't really his fault that in off, but when you're breaking that hard, There's always the risk of something smashing into the cue ball. Little test of character now for John Rowe. So hard to maintain a positive mindset when you've watched your opponent reel off frame after frame. The good thing though from his perspective is that he hasn't really done much wrong himself. If he was 5-1 down because he'd handed over all those chances, it would be a very different story, but he's 5-1 down because his opponent's just played really well. Unusual style, holds almost off the end of the cue. See a lot of people trying to get the whole hand on the cue, and in fact some hold it a fair way in from the end, but John, one of the taller players, at some point he's going to have to play a cannon into the red and the black there together. That's maybe the point. This is quite a good angle for it. Well, you can see what he was trying to do. There were two choices there. He could either have played a thicker cannon and smashed into it with a lot more pace, or he's trying to play the delicate shot where he just lifted off the top of the ball, just trying to flick it out whilst maintaining control. One of those shots that if it comes off you'd say it was unquestionably the right shot, but when it goes wrong, maybe start kicking yourself and thinking should have just played it a bit more firmly. Had to bail out of that clearance. There was just no good attacking option there really. He's getting in trouble though, because I think Declan's going to look to either play a ball round the red that's covering the top right hand corner or play a loss of turn. Such a powerful shot that, because you put all the pressure on your opponent. Even though John can see plenty of this red at the bottom of the table, he didn't really want to move it because currently it's his only insurance against Declan clearing up, given that the yellows are now all in possible positions. So it feels like you can just see the thin edge of that ball. Well, the numerical advantage in balls is very helpful for Declan here. He's got more choices. Although it would only take one shot for things to swing around in the frame, as he's well aware, so he needs to keep things tight. Doesn't mind that ball not going in, and if that was obviously not really playing it as a pop, but the key thing here is to keep all the yellows in play, because then all the pressure's on John. Does he feel like he has to go for this? No way of getting down into the cluster. Options here don't seem great. I don't think he can make a double, can he, to the top left hand corner. He'd have to hit it very firmly if he was doing that, because he needs to get the white out of the way, so he'd have to kind of widen the angle but then hit it hard to straighten it up. What other options he's got? Can't double it into the left middle. Don't think he can double it into the right middle. Well, combo double, I guess. Felt like he had to. The only pocket he could get near was that top right hand corner. Although it's ended up looking not great because the red's gone safe, he actually wasn't a million miles away from making that, because if he catches that yellow a bit straighter, there's a chance that the red follows in, or at worst it stays over that pocket, which would give him some kind of position in the game. probably look to lift the yellow that's nearest the right hand side cushion off that cushion at some point. Nicely done, just a nice delicate touch. Didn't need to move it too far. Very easy with that kind of shot to punt it past the middle pocket and leave it resting on the cushion below. Good judgment of weight. It's also ideal from his perspective to have the ball over the middle pocket, which he can ultimately use to get position on the 8 ball. May have to pot the one that's nearest the pocket now, but he'll have that other one which he can play position off later on. It's the cue ball back to basically where it is now, or just a little bit closer to him. That's pretty much the perfect angle. Ideally wants to get fairly close to this 8 ball, but as long as he's anywhere near straight, this won't be a difficult shot. That's pretty good. That's where you'd put it if you had ball in hand. So after a minor stutter, normal service has been resumed by Mr. Brennan. 6-1 now, facing the bleak equation of needing to win all 6 of the remaining frames in this match if he's going to progress to tonight's quarter-final. Breaks off in frame 8. Took a bit of pace off that, went for control, hit it pretty well. That's been rewarded with a red ball. Don't think anybody could say right now, based on what we've seen, that Declan doesn't deserve this match, because he's been absolutely exceptional. But John really hasn't done a whole lot wrong, and from a neutral perspective, I'm sure everyone willing him on to at least get a few frames on the board before the match is over. Quite a nice layout he's left himself. I don't know if the top of these yellows, i.e. the one that's nearest the cue ball pot, if it doesn't, he may actually have snooked himself here, or snooked himself off the potting angle at least. Well, that's a little careless, because he's going to have to play this ball cushion first. It's not the worst thing to take the balls at this end of the table, because the 2 near the break line are the easier way to get position on the black, but he's just got to make sure he gets position on the other ball at this end of the table. Not bad. Would love to have been off straight the other way, such that the cue ball could just be screwed up the table. Really wants to take this ball to the bottom right first, but I don't know if he can do that and get any kind of position. So he's had to take his medicine. Came round to look at that. He knew that if he left the white where the red was, he'd have a cut on the left hand, one of these 2 yellows. He has to play it gently. Oh, that's turned out really well. That cannon on the red's ideal. Caught both balls at the same time there, so one went into the top left hand corner and the other one bumped over the top right. Not his best positional shot. Can just cut this in though. Actually looks slightly easier shot from the overhead angle than it did from the main camera. Does Does hit it thick though, and has he played his last shot in this tournament? You've got to assume he has, because the way Declan has played in this match, he's not been missing from any position, never mind this, which is effectively a practice position for a player of his quality. Very nicely judged. Can really play these in any order. What a performance this has been from Declan Brennan, 2 frames away from dominant clearance. 2 pots away from wrapping this up. And the easiest of easy 8 balls to finish this match. What a performance from Declan Brennan. Absolute perfection at the beginning of that match. 5 clearances from his first 5 visits to the table, 3 off his own break, 2 reverse clearances.